Hello and welcome to the Sprinter Van Build series. My name is Daryl and today we are going to be covering chapter 13. I thought it was important that we really get an overview of the aluminum T-slot frames and the construction and how we make it and things like that, because all my cabinet structure is made out of 80/20 T-slot aluminum. You could use whatever material you want, but I just thought it was important that we do the review. So let's get going. Today we are going to talk about a high-level overview on how I built the cabinets, because the structure is pretty much same throughout. I used I actually used four different profiles in my build. In different sizes, so the inserts that go into them that you're able to bolt these things with are different. But for the cabinets, I used really the Series 10, which is a 1-inch frame size. Let's get into this discussion. As you'll see in this picture here, this is the aluminum profile without any material on it. But once it's covered, you really don't see it, because we have the side panels, the drawers go in. So really all you're really looking at with these profiles is maybe a 1/2 inch, unless you're getting to the end here on the cabinet and you see it. But as I said, we used it in the kitchen. We used it in the, under here, we used it in the battery frame. If you look on the bed by my pointer, I used it in the expansion on my bed frames. And the reason we did this was because these walls are not straight, and if you use straight aluminum going across, you'd never be able to take these things out because of the angle that you're in. So you need a way to retract, some of the, you have to come up with a way to retract the length of this so that you're able to lift it out. So like I said, I used 80/20. So if we just look back here, I used 80/20 in my frame, my battery frame, as I said, and I also used it in the bed frame. We used it in the water box. We used it to attach the seat belts to. We used it to bolt down to the frame of the truck. Here we talk about the battery frame. Here I have to hold my inverter in, so I need a way to hold this super strong, anchor it to the wall, anchor it to the floor. And this is the final outlook. And then, as we said, we have D-rings that we're adding, other brackets. We want to be able to bolt down this tie-down system, add electrical lights, all this stuff. So this is why I chose the product. When we looked at my solar, I have 80/20 up here. This is what's connecting all the solar panels nice to these brackets. So as you can see, there's a theme. So really what I wanted to do is just do a high-level overview of the components that I used and why. And as we get into this, as I had said earlier, this is the 80/20 is the company I used. We're going to go over the different type of drop-in nuts. So when the structure is already in place and you need to drop in a nut, you've got this drop-in T-nut, you've got these roll-in nuts. So this is when the frame's already put together and you want to add something, because once it's put together, it's very difficult to slide these things in. Although realize the better planning that you do, the cost of these slide-in T-nuts are significantly less than these other ones. Then we're going to talk about the end fastener that I used, and then the tools that I use. And again, highly recommend that you click on the QR code. I'll leave the link in the description, because this takes you to 80/20 University, which really goes over all the different profiles and the ways they recommend you put this together. So I'm just going to do this real quick, but realize there's all these sources out there. And let me just move out of the way. And then, as we said originally too, we have all these different profiles. So these have the 4 different slots. This has 1 slot with 3 finished sides. This has 2 slots with 2 finished sides. You can see the theme here. So these are all the different profiles that you can use. So let me get to a video now where I can demonstrate some of this stuff. Cutting the aluminum profile is something that's very easy to do. All you need is, number one, a pair of safety glasses, because you will have aluminum shards flying all over the place when you're cutting this. You need a chop saw, and you need a 60-tooth carbide blades that's sharp to cut through this. All you've really got to do is just have your line all marked up, turn on the saw, bring the blade down slowly, and then let it go. It's that easy. So let me do the demonstration. It's that easy. So we're going to use two tools to go through this project today. This tool here is the guide that's going to allow us to drill the holes in each end of the T-slot. And this slides through the center of the T-slot. And then all you're going to do here is you're going to have the end flush with the 80-20. And then you're going to tighten this up. And then what it's going to do is it's going to drill a pilot hole that's going to line perfectly up to receive this 80-20 on the opposite side. So that's all you do. You've got one side for one end, and you can easily do two of these at one time. One of the things you might want to do is put a board down when you're drilling this. So all we're going to do is we tighten that the connector down, and then you're just going to take a drill and drill these pilot holes straight through. So depending how you're going to do it, if you're going to be putting a front and a bottom on it, you would need to drill two holes, and you can see that it goes straight through. It's that easy. Then you're going to loosen it up, slide it over to the other side, because we need a hole on that as well, and just make it flush. And then from there, this pilot hole will automatically line up to the T-slot that you're going to be going with through the center. And then we drill this. That easy. So we've got two of them done. So as I mentioned before, the next thing we want to do is thread the ends of this. So we're going to tap it for 1/4 All you're going to do is get the tapping device that goes into the drill, use a little threading fluid to make it just slide through. And we're going to do both ends on this. Just put a little bit more oil. And all the ends have to be threaded. So this literally takes seconds to do this. So I'd be honest, I probably did hundreds of them in my van. And this is the easiest way to do anything. And this is the least expensive way to connect these pieces together. Okay, in this video, we're going to be going over the different profiles. So here we used a 10x10, or the 10 series. So that's 1 inch by 1 inch going across. And you can see we have 4 slots in there. And then the center is what we want to actually thread. So we're going to tap that. Here, this is 2 T-slot with 2 finished profiles. And again, this is all used junk that I had laying around, so I know a lot of this is scratched. But it's also got the ability to slide in all the different profiles in and out of the inside of the channels. This is the 1030 series. This is 1 inch by 3 inch profile. We use this in the water tank bench seat / where we held the hydronic heater. That's what we use there. This is the 15 series. This is 1.5 by 1.5 inch that we used on the solar panels. And then this is a metric version that we used in the bed for sliding back and forth. So as you can see here, I'm just trying to give you an example that these are the 3 different profiles, 3 different sizes that we used in a total of, we used 5 different items in the van build. So what I'm going to do is just build a simple structure and demonstrate how this works. But before we do that, these are some of the slide-ins that slide into the profile. This is the least expensive one. This is just the T-slot. This slides into the slot. That's the T-nut. This one here is the end fastener. And this will use a lot of these. But I found that these are a lot less expensive. even though you have to drill a hole in the profile material so that you can get the wrench in it. This is a rolling nut with a rubber handle on it. I actually love these, but these things are not cheap. So they slide into the T-slot afterwards. And this is also a different nut, rolling nut, and you can see it has the ball bearing in there to keep it in place. But this I use in 10/32 when I hang my hinges up, and it's also available in 1/4 thread as well. Again, this is another slide in for 10/32. So we use those a lot when we remember to slide them in. Again, that's the least expensive way to go. This here is another nut that slides in, as you know, on the side. These are the different angle fasteners that I use. This is plastic. I didn't use it, but I ordered some of these just to get it. This is another angle profile that's nice finished. And then we've got one more. This is more expensive, obviously. It's a lot stronger. But here I found it was even cheaper to go out and just get aluminum angle iron, whatever size you want, cut it on the saw, and then drill it. This is an end mending plate just to really make things super strong. I never used them in the van build, but I figured I would just show you this. This is the Comatex material that I used on my sidewall. I apologize that it's scuffed up. It's just a scrap piece. This is 1/4 inch and it actually slides into this groove, but that's the material that we used on the van wall. So the reason we have these holes drilled is because when we bring in the end fastener is going to, I screwed these in together. Sometimes it's quicker to do that. And I just want to show it to you. But you want to take the end fastener and it actually slides into there and it's not coming out, right? So you can slide it. So when you tighten it, those little 2 round buttonholes there will actually pull it in and keep that from spinning. And the reason you need this hole is because you need to be able to get the Allen wrench. So I highly recommend that what you're doing is, if you're 100% accurate, all you need is that small hole. If you want a little flexibility, what I did is once I pre-drilled the hole, then I drilled the holes larger. So that way you could just have more tolerance and be able to move this thing back and forth. And you can put in little plugs in those to give you a nice finished effect. So now we're going to slide in the second one, tighten that up really tight on the bottom. And you see now you start to understand why you need the hole, because you're going through the hole all the way through and tightening up the Allen screw and it's pulling it in. And that thing cannot spin. So that thing is solid. So here we now, these are already threaded. So now what we're going to do is put in, we can put on another one just to give us a nice angle, and we'll just tighten that up. So the other thing to think about when you're doing this is you always want to plan, what are you going to fasten to where? So if you want to put, if we're going to put another one of those, we might want to slide in some T-nuts right now. So that way, if you know you're going to put in a hinge or something like that, you slide it in here. If not, you have to go with the more expensive one and then use the roll-in nut. And then here you're going to tighten that in. Okay. So those are in there for later on. Everything here is about planning. So what I want to do is to be able to put this mending plate on the side. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to plan ahead of time and put these in. So the problem we've got though is sometimes these T-nuts are too big and too long and you can't get them in. So what I'll do is I'll show you two. So I have two different sizes here for a reason, because if I put these two big ones in and with this piece sticking out a little bit, this won't work. So I have to go with a smaller size. So let me show you here. So when we slide it in, so you can see the end fastener is sticking out a little bit. So when I try to put these regular T-nuts in, it's actually too long and my holes don't line up, right? So this hole would be short. So I need to take this T-nut out and put in a smaller one. So again, this is some of the things that get a little tricky, but if you plan for it, then it makes it easier. So what I do here is I put my 2 T-nuts in, and now I'm set, right, to be able to put that in later. Okay. So now once you put those T-nuts in, once you put the T-nuts in, now you can slide in your wall panel. Now, when I did my base cabinet, when I did my upper cabinets had Comatex in the middle and then aluminum on the outside. And so it made it super strong. So as I said, planning is everything. And let's say I want to put a D-ring on this side and I'm trying to go with the less expensive fastener. Then I put my T-nuts on, put them on the fastener, and then I could easily just slide this right down the channel before I put my top piece on. Again, if you don't, it's not a problem, because all you can do then is get in the low profile T-nut that slides in, or you can get the rolling T-nut that slides in, and then you're still able to do this. Like I said, the only difference is they cost more. So then from here, you just slide in your end fasteners, and then you're going to be able to screw that right down. And we just tighten that right down. So as I said, you can put finished caps on all of these items just to give you a nicer look. So now let's put the mending plate on. It's going to be attaching this profile with this profile and that profile. So all 3 profiles get screwed together. So you're trying to line up the nut with the bolt. And once you get them in there, you just keep it loose. And then you can see now that lines up. Now we're going to slide in our other 2 T-nuts. And again, the same thing, a smaller one and then the larger one. I didn't use any of these in my band build, but I just wanted to show you what the capability of this material is, because these are the things that we're going to be, whether it's attaching a plate, whether it's attaching the bike rack mounts, D-rings, magnets, hinges, it's all the same thing. So it doesn't matter what you attach, it's just understanding what fastener to use and how to bring it together. So all this is done with an Allen wrench. So it's not a lot, it's not difficult. So that is our corner mending plate. So far we got a mending plate, we've got the Comatex material and a D-ring. Now let's add a couple more stuff. So let's talk about the angles. So we're going to slide that in and now get an angle bracket. And as I said, there's this angle bracket here. These things are not cheap. That's why my preference would be to go out and just get aluminum angle iron and cut them down to size and drill your holes. But I'll give you 2 different sources where you can get these in the description. So the good thing is you get to move it around anywhere you want, and then you just bolt it in. And then we'll do another one on the other side, which is a different angle bracket. I do like these, but they do have the limitations. So you could never use this with the nuts when we supported this to the ceiling, to the stud. But if you have to bolt something to the wall or things like that, this is great. The other thing you can do with this too is already have the T-nut connected to that and then just slide it through the slide. Then you've got your 2 fasteners here. So the most important thing to really talk about is the 2 different profiles that we use, the tools that you need, the ability that you can put in a floor panel. This actually, here's an interesting thing I was trying to figure out how to use, but you can create slides with this. So even if you want to do sliding doors on your van, you can easily do that. So that's another item that they've got. They got a lot of really cool products. But this is pretty much it. So I just wanted to be able to go over the review portion. Is 2 different connectors. We showed you with the mending plates, what happens, how you can use the T-nuts to slide them in, how you use the end fastener, how you tap it. This is pretty much all you're going to need on the entire build of the 8020. And once you start using it, you'll get a lot more efficient with it. As I had said in my previous video, chapter 11, when we talked about the battery frame that I made, there are other alternatives out there to 8020. And one of the things if you do is if you shoot this QR code, but it's also in the description, is there's a company called T-Nuts out there, and they do sell aluminum profile hardware that's compatible with the 8020 product. So even their fasteners and their aluminum profile is pretty significantly cheaper. As I'd said, just on the battery frame, I think I mentioned that my costs to build it out of the 8020 product was about $350 versus doing it with the T-Nuts product would cost me about $190. So it's worth taking a look at these options. Look, I don't promote either company. I'm not getting any benefit out of it. There are links in my description. So wherever you decide to source this material, it's worth taking a look at. Again, whether you use an aluminum frame, whether you're using a wooden frame, I would say you could still look at my series because I do give you good ideas in terms of how you're able to mount things a little bit differently than other people do. And again, my view is how do you bolt things to the van rather than screwing things to the van. So, hey, thank you so much for watching. Any questions, any comments, please list them in the description and I'll try to get back to you. Thank you very much for visiting, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care.